Welcome, welcome, welcome in, everybody. It is Wednesday, March 1st. I almost said April. We're not quite in April yet. Um, it is March 1st, Wednesday. Um, Welcome in for another exciting member meeting with Initiate Justice. And I'm super excited for this meeting. We have a great agenda for y'all this evening. Lots of information, lots of updates, but all good stuff, all good stuff. And now my mouse isn't working. There we go. So real quick, as folks are coming in, as folks are trickling into the space, just want to give a heads up. As always, we are recording these sessions, as always, so that if folks aren't able to make it tonight, they're able to watch the recording back. We post these on our YouTube page, so folks are able to to watch these back. And again, my name is Adriana Griffith. I am the statewide advocacy manager here at Initiate Justice, and I'm thrilled to see you all this evening. So tell us how you're doing in the chat. Tell us where you're zooming in from. If you are new to the space, tell us what brought you to Initiate Justice, what brought you here this evening. Share in the chat where you are also zooming in from, and we love to welcome folks. And then just some quick housekeeping reminders. I already mentioned that we are recording the call. If you do prefer to be off camera, because you do not want to be like recorded and things like that, totally acceptable. Just go ahead and remain off camera. Also going to ask folks, if you are not speaking, to remain muted so that we don't get that cross feedback. So just stay on mute. If you do have questions or anything like that throughout the evening, feel free to throw those in the chat. We do have staff present tonight, so folks will be monitoring the chat, able to answer questions and things like that. Oh, excuse me. So really quick, just want to go through our agenda for this evening. So we will start off with, as always, just some organizational updates, let y'all know what's going on within IJ specifically, some things that y'all should know regarding our podcast, communication stuff, all that good things. And then we will move on and just do some committee announcements, more so committee updates. So just talk about what's been going on with our committees this last month, and then what you can expect for next month or for this month. And then we will get into the most exciting part of our meeting this evening. We are going to be unveiling our 2023 legislative bill package for the year. So super excited to unveil that to you all. We have our executive director, Antoinette Radcliffe, here this evening, who will be taking us through that presentation later on today. So super excited to have Antoinette back in space with us, and we get to hear from her later on this evening. And then after that presentation, we will do a very brief Q&A, and then something even more special, something new we are incorporating into our member meetings this year, raffles. And so we will also be doing a raffle at the end of tonight's meeting, so please stick around for that. We will be raffling off, I don't know if y'all can see that, it's a $25 gift card to AMC Theaters. So if you are a movie buff like myself, you like to go to movies, don't forget we are raffling this off at the end. So I'm actually going to ask one of my team members if we can drop the link for the raffle prize drawing into the chat. It is in our agenda for this evening. If not, let me go over there and pull that up. But yeah, super, super really exciting prize. I'm excited to be able to do this. So we're going to drop a link. Thank you, Lee, so much. We dropped the link into the chat. And so that is the form I'm going to be utilizing to take all of the names. So if you are interested in putting your name in for this drawing, go ahead and fill that form out. It's just simply going to be your first name, last initial. And then at the end, I'm going to pull all the names, put them into the raffle where the wheel, and we can spin, and we'll have a winner. And then once we have the winner, I'll meet with them offline via email to get this to you. Make sure you get this lovely, lovely gift card. And so we'll do that at the end. But if you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out through messaging and let me know. But other than that, that is our agenda for this evening. That will take us all the way up to 8 o'clock. As you know, we have ended our meetings earlier this year. So super excited. And so without further ado, we are just going to get right into it with organizational updates. And so I know typically I also want to acknowledge, typically we usually have a grounding before we get started. Oka, who is usually the wonderful facilitator that leads us in a grounding, is not able to be in space with us this evening. And so we will not be doing the grounding, unfortunately, but we wish Oka well. We can't wait until she is back in space with us. So for our first organizational update, really just want to let folks know that our Abolition is for Everybody podcast, season 3, episode 5 drops this Tuesday, March 7th. And this episode really special. It's called Let's Talk Mass Shootings in the Media with Kazim Rashid. And so we have been pushing out these podcast episodes thoroughly over the last few weeks. Each one has been great. Season 3 is all about the media. And last episode was all about propaganda. Super powerful episode. I can't wait for this next episode. I see that we have Michelle here from our comms team. Michelle, is there anything that you would like to provide folks, a little insight or tidbit onto what they can expect with this next episode?
Yes, for sure. So we actually talked to Kasim. He is an author, journalist, lawyer, very popular on TikTok. Not sure if y'all have been on, but he has amazing, very short videos talking about different issues. And we actually invited him on to come talk about mass shootings and how they're portrayed in the media and how, the stories that are being told aren't always the full stories. I will say it is a heavy topic. There is mention of gun violence. So, just take care of yourselves when going into listening to that episode. But it is an amazing conversation. I loved it. I'm very proud of it. Kasim was super excited to be on as well. So if y'all have a chance, please listen to the episode. Rate us anywhere you get your podcast. You can also find the transcripts on our website. But yeah, all feedback is welcomed. Also, let us know what you think so far. I am super proud of season 3 so far. But yeah, thank you all.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm loving season 3 so far. It's been absolutely amazing. So definitely check that out. We did drop a link in the chat where you can go and check that out. But the podcast is available wherever you happen to get your podcast. It's even available on YouTube. So check it out. Let us know what you think. Next update, Institute of Impacted Leaders. And so we are getting ready to kick off our 16th cohort of the Institute of Impacted Leaders. And I am super excited. This year, this spring's cohort is going back to the Inland Empire. So this will be our second cohort that we are hosting out of the IE. I am super excited about it. We had an info session last week. We had a tremendous amount of folks that responded, that are interested, that are engaged. And so we will be making our final decisions on who our final participants are this week and letting folks know. Just super excited about that. Summer will be in Contra Costa County. But if you are not in the IE or you're not in Contra Costa and you are interested in having the Institute of Impacted Leaders come to your region next, we want to let you know, definitely fill out this next link that we're going to drop in the chat. It is our Institute of Impacted Leaders general interest form. And so there's some links that are being dropped in the chat right now. If you haven't gone through Institute of Impacted Leaders, which is a 12-week organizing and training program specifically for people impacted by incarceration, definitely head over to our website, head over to that form, fill it out, and we will get back to you sooner or later. We always go where the interest is. And so if you are interested, definitely fill it out so that we can come to your region next. Next, we're gonna talk about the Inside Journal. So the Inside Journal, for those that don't know, is a quarterly journal that goes into prisons 4 times of the year. And so I want to let folks know, to let your loved ones know that may be inside right now, that the February 2023 edition of the Inside Journal was sent to the printers. And so that is on its way to folks. And so folks should be receiving it anywhere between now and mid-March. And so just let your folks know that are inside, it's coming, be patient. We got it to the printer and it is on the way. So super excited. We were able to see a sneak peek of it as staff, and it looks absolutely amazing. And so just shout out to our inside membership team that really works really hard on getting all of that done. And I know, Crystal, you are here in space with us. I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to highlight in particular about the Inside Journal, or if what I said was sufficient enough.
Thank you, Adriana. Hi, everyone. The Inside Journal will reach your loved ones mid to late March. It's currently sitting in the printer right now because we have over half of the incarcerated population as members. It takes about a week to leave the printer. So it'll leave in a week, and then from then, the amount of time it takes for loved ones to get mail. And just real quick, I want to give a quick shout out to Cynthia Barajas, who is the loved one of one of the artists from the art gallery. I am not what I used to be. She just put in the comments that she's in the meeting here. So welcome, Cynthia. We've loved having your brother's art as part of the art gallery. Glad you can make it and be here with us tonight. Thank you.
Yes, welcome, Cynthia. Thank you so much, Crystal, for amplifying and uplifting that piece. Thank you so much. Yes, welcome, Cynthia. There's lots of love coming through for you in the chat, lots of welcomes. So please feel free to engage with everybody in the chat. We love to see it. We love to see it. So next on our updates, really quick, just want to talk about something new that is also coming as part of our membership, our outside membership structure. And so as y'all know, as most of you may know, we recently redid our outside membership and committee structure. And so one of those things that we changed was to incorporate a newsletter specifically for outside membership. And so we have been working super hard on getting the first edition of the brand new outside membership newsletter out. And so that will also be coming out this month. It is going to be a digital newsletter, so it won't be being sent through mail. It will come through email. And so if you are not on our mailing list, please go ahead and sign up for our mailing list at tinyurl.com/joinij. That is also the list that we are going to be using to send out the announcement for the official sign up for our new membership structure. So for those that are already members of Initiate Justice, you will just be automatically moved over into the new system. For those that might be new in the space and haven't gone through the full membership process previously, this will be a new process that will lower the barrier to membership and make it easier accessible to folks that might be coming home from doing time, things like that. So we really just wanted to make it easily accessible. And so sign up for our mailing list, because that is how we are going to announce the new sign up version for our membership structure. So it will be going out in our MailChimp at the end of the month. So just make sure you're signed up for that, and so that you can receive all of those good updates. And then one more thing, as far as organizational updates go, Initiate Justice has moved. So we are still in downtown LA, but we are currently working to furnish, design, and equip our new space to meet our needs. And we'll let you know once we start to host meetings and other events in that space physically. So as I said, we're still located in downtown LA, just a hop, skip, and a jump from where we used to be. But we wanted to let folks know that the address information is on our website now, but we are going to officially announce addresses and things like that once we get a little bit more settled. And like I said, once we start to have a little bit more events going on in the new location. Whew. So that is all of our organizational updates thus far. Before I go into committee updates really quickly, are there any questions about anything that I went over? And yes, thank you, Antoinette, for dropping that in the chat. This does not change the address that your loved ones inside write to. So that address, the PO box, is staying the same. It is just our physical location that has changed. Awesome, seeing no questions. So moving into committee updates really, really quickly. So I am going to shift gears and share my screen. Just give me one quick second. Oh, no, it's not what I wanted to do. One quick second, y'all. Thank you for your patience. All righty. So I'm going to share my screen. All righty. So for committee updates, really quick, just wanted to provide a little bit of context for what to expect this month, and then also give a brief recap for what happened last month during February. So February, we did launch our brand new structure for our committees. We went down to 2 committees, a volunteer committee and a community action committee, which is our outreach committee. And so the volunteer committee met for the first time last month on the 8th. Our inside membership team hosted and discussed volunteer mail nights. And so we had about 11 folks join that meeting, and it was super productive. Folks were able to plug in, learn how Initiate Justice handles mail coming from inside members, how we respond to mail, excuse me, and then just a little bit more insight into what goes into a volunteer mail night and what to expect and what folks usually do during those times. So super great mail night. Crystal, I don't know if you had anything to add since y'all hosted that committee meeting in particular, but future reference, stay tuned for more announcements for the next mail night to get involved.
No, thank you, everybody who joined us, and excited to see you all at Leanne Adams next week.
Awesome, yay, thank you. And then we did have a community action committee scheduled for last month on February 22nd. Unfortunately, we did have to cancel that meeting due to our office moving physical locations and really just needing the staff focus to be able to focus on the move and getting everything done in those couple of days. And so we did have to cancel that meeting. And so I do apologize to everybody that did register. But we will be back this month, which is what you see on your screens for March. So for our March volunteer committee meeting, which is next Wednesday, March 8th, that will be hosted by our very own Lee and Adam, who are going to go over all about learning how to become a curriculum reviewer and a phone trainer for inside organizing. So Lee, I'm going to pass it to you really quickly, just really briefly, if you want to give folks just a little tidbit on what they can expect during that committee meeting next week.
What up, my social justice warriors? That's what you can expect. A lot of energy, a lot of fun. A little bit about what the inside organizing does is we educate, empower, and get folks inside abreast of what they need to do to be able to move and to access their political power within our social justice movement. And so what you can expect is just a step-by-step of how we actually train folks, how we actually supply the materials for them, what we do to be able to support them in their pathway towards being, you know, those social justice warriors that you all are, and to further their education and that type of stuff. So yeah, that's really what it's going to be about. We're going to bring a lot of energy like we always do. We're going to be able to talk to you all. We're going to be able to answer questions, talk more about what we actually do, the process of how it happens. And so, yeah, we're super excited for this new format of what IJ's doing. And thank you so much, Adriana and Crystal and everybody else that is here from staff. Thank you so much for everything that you all do for IJ. We wouldn't be here without you.
Thanks, Lee, and thank you as well. Same goes to you. So super exciting committee meeting night. I hope all of y'all register and attend because it is something that is very much needed. We have a lot of inside organizers and a lot of folks inside that want to be inside organizers. So the training is definitely necessary. So don't forget to attend. You can find the registration link for these committee meetings at initiatejustice.org/calendar. So you head over to our website, go to our event calendar, and you will see all the events that we have for the month. And you click on the day that you want to go and you register for Zoom, and it's as simple as that. So that is for volunteer committee, March 8th, next week. Now, the fourth Wednesday of this month, March 22nd, will be the Community Action Committee, which again is our outreach committee. And this committee will be hosted by our policy team, Greg and Sarah. And in this particular committee meeting, you will be able to get a little bit more insight into the bill package that we're going to be announcing tonight, and learn more about ways that you can support each of these bills moving forward and what it's going to take for it to get to the next steps. And so if you are interested in being boots to the ground for a policy this year, definitely a committee meeting that you do not want to miss. So again, head over to initiatejustice.org/calendar, sign up and attend, and we look forward to seeing you there. But that is it for our committee updates, our organizational updates. I'm going to leave this up for just a couple more seconds. Is there any questions anybody has about these upcoming committee meetings, how to register, where to find the link, anything like that before we move on? Awesome. I don't see any, don't hear any. Beautiful. So I'm going to stop share really quickly and switch presentations and gears, because now we are moving into the portion of our program where we are talking about our policy campaign and our policy bills. So let me pull that one up. Share screen. All righty. Here we go. And for this, I am going to pass it gracefully over to our ED, Antoinette. Take it away, Antoinette.
Thank you so much, Adriana. Thank you everyone for being here with us on this first of the month. Super excited to see a lot of familiar faces, but also a lot of new faces. It's super exciting. So as Adriana mentioned, my name is Antoinette Ratcliffe. I am the Executive Director of Initiate Justice, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. So first, I just want to take a moment and just acknowledge that typically this presentation is given by our policy team, namely our policy director. I do want to ask if we can just send tons of love, compassion, healing, and well wishes to our policy director, either in the chat or through emojis, just as he navigates some personal issues right now and wasn't able to be with us here tonight. But Greg did put together this presentation for us to share out with you all our bill package for 2023. And I see some hearts coming through the chat, tons of emojis. So thank you so very much. A little something differently that we'll do today as well, I'll talk about a little bit later, is we'll use a Google form to collect all of your various policy questions to make sure that the most accurate and complete information is being circulated, and we get our policy team support in responding to all of those questions instead of bombarding inboxes while some of our staff are away right now. But also what I want to do before we jump into the bill package, because I know we have some new people here, and Adriana, please feel free to tap me if I start to run low on time here. But I do just want to take a brief moment to acknowledge that our legislative process here in the state of California, and probably in other places as well, but particularly here in the state of California, it's complex. It's difficult. It's sometimes really hard to understand. I, after 4 years, am certainly no expert on our entire legislative process. Our policy director, our policy analysts certainly are, but we don't expect each of you to be experts in this process, but we do want to make sure you have enough information to be engaged and to be activated in ensuring that the policies we want to see as we work to end incarceration and end punitive justice measures is actually centering our voices, our experiences, and us in all of our humanity. And so first, I want to share a video that our amazing communications team created. I think Michelle was on the call earlier, but I want to share a couple of videos that are available to you all as resources to help you sort of follow us through this process, support us in all of the different things that go into passing a bill here in the state of California. So first, I'll be dropping in the chat a link to our legislative process video. So this video goes through in less than 10 minutes the entire legislative process, what it looks like from start to finish, from a bill being in its ideation stage, being like just thought of, considered, talked about amongst community members and organizations, to actually becoming a law here in the state of California. So that is our legislative process video. And then also we have it in Spanish as well, in case you have non-English speaking community members or where English may not be your primary language and Spanish is, you can also follow that process there. Other things that'll be helpful, because tonight I'll be giving just brief overviews of all of our bills. It'll also be helpful to know how to use LegInfo. LegInfo is the California State Legislature's website that houses all of the different information, details, nuances, status updates about our bills going through the legislature, but also is the same space where you can submit letters of support or letters of opposition as you are advocating for either Initiate Justice co-sponsored legislation or other legislation that you are supporting, wanting to see pass, or wanting to make sure isn't passed so it doesn't further harm our communities. So sharing that real quick, those couple of videos so that you have access to those resources before we jump in, and really encouraging, if you're new here, if you're new to advocacy, or if you just want a refresher, because it's been a couple of years since you went through Institute, you can refer to those couple of resources. But without further ado, I will go ahead and jump into our 2023 bill package, or our 2023 co-sponsored legislation. Okay, so you will see here several bills. And this is just a list of all of the bills that we'll be working on this year. Do want to acknowledge and keep in mind that if you've worked with Initiate Justice in the past, we will co-sponsor a certain package of legislation. This doesn't mean that we aren't in other spaces and in other ways supporting other efforts, helping our community members and our other organizations push their co-sponsored bills. But these are the bills that we have the capacity and the power to support with more of our resources, with a significant amount of our resources this year. So I'm going to go through just a brief overview of each of these, and then what you can expect from us in the future as we continue to advocate for these various pieces of legislation and get them through the process. You can expect things like toolkits, like fact sheets, like template letters of support, calls to action, and a myriad of different ways for how you can support. Also note, if you have a loved one inside who is signed up as an inside member or who is an inside organizer, they will also have this information as well. regarding our 2023 co-sponsor bills. Thank you, Adriana. We can start going through each of the slides. Okay, so the first one I want to talk real briefly about is AB 60, authored by, well, let me start there. There's a title at the top of each page. So we have the bill number, we have the author's last name, and then we have some sort of title for the bill. Keep in mind, these are specific to this year. Each year, there are thousands of bills. You'll see when the numbers start to grow larger, but there are thousands of bills submitted to the state legislature. When you're reading any information that's coming to you, whether it's from IJ or from other organizations or in press releases, news articles, you'll want to look for the bill number, the bill author, and the title of the bill to kind of keep you connected to what issue we're actually talking about or what legislation we're talking about. So this one is AB 60, authored by Assembly Member Isaac Bryan, and it's on restorative justice. So this bill provides a notification of restorative justice programs to victims and survivors. So various organizations, well, just a little bit of background first. Our current penal code doesn't actually provide a path for using restorative justice practices to resolve adult criminal cases. We know that our current system is set up just to punish and incarcerate, to isolate, incarcerate, and do things like restitution, right? Financial accountability, as opposed to some of these other measures of accountability that we know are very historical and have proven to be effective. So various organizations in the restorative justice community, have begun exploring like what policies would actually help advance our visions for restorative justice. What surfaced was the need to notify victims and survivors both early and often throughout the criminal legal process about the availability of restorative justice programs. And so one thing that I do want to acknowledge is Initiate Justice is showing up in support of the leaders who are doing this work. We also, like the author's office, are honoring the insights of the organizations who are on the ground working closely with communities in restorative justice spaces. And so acknowledging again that this isn't something that currently exists in our penal code. So this will provide, by law, a requirement that victims and survivors are notified throughout the criminal legal process about restorative justice programs that are available to them. It's being led by a group of different restorative justice organizations and practitioners. Some of those include Impact Justice, the Ahimsa Collective, Community Works West, the Alliance for Boys and Men of Color, the Insight Prison Project, UCLA School of Law is also supporting this effort. Pangea Legal Services are also supporting this effort as well. And again, this one is AB 60. This one is being authored by Assembly Member Isaac Bryan. Do want to acknowledge and appreciate our Assembly Member Isaac Bryan for really leaning into and following the leadership of the restorative justice organizations that are doing this work day in and day out on the ground in their communities. And so really appreciate the respect for what their needs are. And that's one thing that we can appreciate Isaac Bryan for leading and listening to those who are on the ground. Thank you, Adriana. So this next bill here is also authored by Assembly Member Isaac Bryan. You'll see his name a couple of times tonight. So this one's also authored by Assembly Member Isaac Bryan. This is AB 544, which is regarding voting in our county jails. So currently, the majority of people in our county jails are allowed to vote. One thing that we want to make clear is that Majority of the people in our county jails have the right to vote, but there are some structural barriers and misinformation around voting access for our community members in those county jails. The same way that some of our community members who are on parole don't know or may have some misinformation around their current rights to vote. And so something that AB 544 aims to do is establish polling centers in county jails and require county jails to provide voter registration forms to our eligible voters inside of those jails, among a few other things. So for full transparency, this one in particular, we are working collectively with Ella Baker Center and the Author's Office and others, such as Pillars of the Community, the Attorney General's Office, the Secretary of State's Office, to really develop the best timeline and the best strategy for moving this effort forward. So you may not see any calls to action immediately or right away, as that strategy is still under development. But also wanting to just take the time to just like pause real quick and acknowledge some of the progress that we've made. So again, if you have loved ones who are in county jails, make sure that we're circulating the right information. Make sure that we are sharing the most accurate information, because many of our community members who are in county jails are not aware or are receiving misinformation about their rights. And so I know there are efforts that happen throughout like Los Angeles County and some others, but their right to vote is already theirs. It's just about eliminating some of the barriers to exercising that right for our community members in county jails. Thank you, Adriana. So this next bill here, AB 1186, authored by Assemblymember Bonta, is around youth restitution. So one, we know that restitution in and of itself is not necessarily an effective means of accountability, but we also know that we need to ensure that crime survivors, victims of harm and crime are receiving timely payments of restitution. So this bill in particular eliminates youth restitution and stops the collection of existing youth restitution debt. So again, we know that restitution in and of itself isn't an effective accountability measure, but charging youth restitution is an absolutely absurd and failed policy choice. It doesn't meet the needs of survivors, and it's, again, ineffective for youth and children and perpetuates a cycle of debt, but also keeping in mind that youth oftentimes will not have the capacity to actually fulfill their restitution obligations. And so we don't want to impact restitution payments for actual crime victims and survivors. So this bill replaces the current system of youth restitution with a more sustainable and a more accessible system, one that relies on the California Victim Compensation Board. It also changes some of the accountability measures to ensure that youth are held in more appropriate and more effective ways, such as restorative justice programs, community service, and being connected to job opportunities. So we don't want to continue to perpetuate cycles of harm. And we know that our existing system of youth restitution continues to perpetuate a harmful cycle. This serves to replace it with something that is more sustainable and more effective for all parties involved, for both the victims and survivors of crime, but also for the youth we are wanting to hold accountable, but also we are wanting to restore and transform the ways in which they show up in their communities as well. So this really shifts what that looks like for youth who are involved in the criminal legal system. Also wanting to recognize the Debt Free Justice Coalition for leading this effort here. Thank you, Adriana. So this next bill here, this one, first I want to acknowledge that if anyone recalls, a couple of years ago, we attempted to amend firearm enhancement laws through AB 1509 by Assemblymember Alex Lee back in 2021. We heard from our community members inside of tons of gratitude for us attempting that effort, but we also continue to hear the need to still move forward with amending this very, very draconian, outdated, and ineffective practice of firearm enhancements. So this is a new approach that we are taking this year. So there was a bill passed, SB 620, by Senator Bradford, that gives judges the discretion to strike firearm enhancements at sentencing, but only moving forward. It was not retroactive for those who have already been sentenced under firearm enhancements. So this bill attempts to go back and make that law retroactive, and it creates a presumption of favor in the sentencing process that can only be overcome if there is an unreasonable risk to public safety for that person. So this bill works to go back and make SB 620 retroactive, giving currently incarcerated people with a firearm enhancement a chance to be resentenced. We know that this has been and continues to be a long and hefty fight, but we're super excited to move this particular effort forward, realizing that the title is not listed there. Believe that may have been my mistake, removed on accident, but it's the Equal Chance Act. So again, what this bill intends to do is allow a person who was sentenced under a firearm enhancement, that's usually Penal Codes 12022.5 and 12022.53, to petition the court for resentencing. And it also requires the court to give favor in resentencing versus not resentencing an individual under this law. All right, a couple more here. I think we have about 2 more, so bear with me. I know this is a lot of information and I already see tons of questions coming through the chat. One thing that I will ask, which I probably should have asked before, but if any of my team members are seeing some of those questions and have the ability to add it to our member meeting agenda so we can make sure those also get to our policy team, please, please, please put those questions into our agenda. So this next one, ACA 4 by Assemblymember Isaac Bryan to free the vote. I have an old sign here behind me on my desk. So this is for voting rights for our neighbors currently in California's state prisons. What we know is that prohibiting access to our democracy to anyone is counterproductive to our democratic process. So currently people in state and federal prisons in California aren't allowed to vote. This is an assembly constitutional amendment, which means it has to go through the state legislature, and if it qualifies for the ballot, it would then put an initiative on the 2024 ballot that would allow people in the state of California who do currently have the right to vote on this matter. So just rewinding briefly, Initiate Justice has prioritized restoring voting rights for several years now. If you follow us on Instagram, then you know that our board member, Rasan Thomas, who recently came home and was actually released the day of our ACA4 press conference in front of the state capitol. Thank you to everyone who supported that press conference, who showed up, our team, our staff, our organizers, and all of our coalition partners. But Rasan Thomas actually proposed the idea of restoring voting rights to people in prison and people on parole back in 2017 or 2018. I think it was 2017. And so what we did was we worked to restore voting rights. Our first effort was actually to restore voting rights to people on parole. That was Proposition 17. Proposition 17 did pass. And so now people on parole, some 50,000 additional Californians, have the right to vote. But we came back, and with the support of Assemblymember Isaac Bryan and a broad coalition of brilliant organizations, but also some very powerful co-authors who are supporting this bill, we are aiming to restore voting rights to our loved ones, our friends, our family, our neighbors, our community members currently incarcerated. So again, this does require a two-step process, and it looks a little bit different than our assembly bills, our Senate bills, or some of the other legislation we're talking about tonight. So this bill has a little bit of a different timeline. It follows a sort of unpredictable process sometimes. This bill would have to pass out of the state legislature with a 2/3 majority vote. So we have to get more assembly votes and more Senate votes than some of the other pieces of legislation. So it is going to be a heavy fight. Most bills just need to get the majority. However, this one has to get 2/3 of the majority in order to qualify for the ballot, and that has to happen. It has through June through June of next year to qualify. So this bill doesn't necessarily have to pass out of both houses this year. The process looks a little bit different, and it has through June of next year to qualify for a ballot initiative for the 2024 ballot. So stay looped in with us. We'll share in a little bit kind of how you can plug in, how you can stay connected to some of these efforts to continue to be engaged. But I do want to acknowledge our super powerful coalition that includes the ACLU, that includes ARC, the Anti-Recidivism Coalition. It includes our partners over at Ella Baker Center. Also, our partners over at Initiate Justice Action. League of Women Voters is also supporting this on this coalition, as well as the California Black Power Network. And I believe Pillars of the Community is joining this coalition as well. So stay connected with us. We will be mobilizing all of our community members, both inside and outside, to make sure that this effort progresses through the legislature and gets to the ballot. And a huge, huge, huge shout out to our board member who's been working alongside Initiate Justice and so many other organizations for such a long time from inside, who is now home, Rasan Thomas. But yes, this one we're super excited for. And again, thank you. We're excited for all of them. But this one we know is very fundamental to our democratic process and to future efforts to end incarceration through California state policy change as well. So stay connected, stay tuned. All right, one more. And then we will share some more information as to how you can support, and also some links for you to plug in with us all of your questions that can be answered by our policy team. So the next bill is SB 81. authored by Senator Becker. And this one is reforming our BPH process, or our board of parole hearings reform. So used to just saying BPH, but for those of us who might be new in this space, trying not to use so many acronyms. So our board of parole hearings reform effort, authored by Senator Becker, really works to prohibit BPH from considering discriminatory factors when reaching a decision of unsuitability for parole. We know that by far the current BPH process finds most of our community members who are up for parole unsuitable. We also know that those reasons are oftentimes discriminatory and are not directly linked to actual risks or dangers to our public safety. So what this does is it also requires the board to put the reasons for the denial in writing and connect them to a current risk of danger to public safety, and adds judicial review for those who are denied. So there's a lot of different aspects in the BPH process, and there are some sort of nuances such as Marcy's Law that make it a little bit difficult to change all of the aspects of the BPH process. But this bill is a start for us to clean up that process and make it fair and make it non-discriminatory. Things that we are considering as discriminatory and hoping to prohibit BPH from considering include things like a person's race and ethnicity, cognitive and physical impairments, current or prior history of mental illness, an incarcerated person's ability to express like really complex or really abstract concepts, among other factors. So it will require, again, BPH to not only articulate in writing the reasons for denial, but also connect those reasons to a true unreasonable risk to public safety. So this bill is being led by the CAPPER Coalition, which is a California Alliance for Parole Reform, which includes some of our partners like Uncommon Law, Ella Baker Center, CCWP, CSJ, or Californians for Safety and Justice, Prison from the Inside Out, Jesse's Place, the D. Hill Foundation, Just Advocate Inc., and also supported by others like the ACLU, like the Committee on the Revision of the Penal Code. I know that was mentioned somewhere in the chat earlier, and Smart Justice California. So this is another one that is long overdue and could be a real huge game changer for our community members, because we already know that a significant portion of our community members are due to come home. And so this starts to eliminate some of the very discriminatory barriers that keep our loved ones from coming home. So those are all of our bills for 2023. We're also, as you all know, just wanting to highlight that where we are in the current process is bill introduction. So bills have been introduced, and as I mentioned, there are thousands of bills. These are the ones with our capacity, with our resources. We know we have the ability to lead and to win. That doesn't mean that there are not some very critical pieces of legislation on the table aside from these. And that doesn't mean that we won't be doing our part to make sure that those bills also are successful. These are the ones that we are co-sponsoring. These are the ones that we have the capacity and the resources to lead in some way or to co-sponsor. So thank you everyone for sitting through this very sort of lengthy presentation, but I do just want to share a couple more things before I pass it back to Adriana. So first and foremost, I know there are a bunch of questions because this is just, again, an overview. With the limited time, just providing a summary of what we're working on. And so I'm going to drop a link in the chat. If you have any questions, please let us know, because we want to make sure that those questions are answered. But it's not just answering those questions for you, but it's answering those questions for our entire community. So we'll keep note of some of the common questions that are being asked, and make sure that those are also addressed. But here's some ways that you can also learn the answers to maybe some questions that some of your fellow community members are asking, or some common questions that we can anticipate. One is staying connected to our Instagram, which is @InitiateJustice. Because what we do, you will see Michelle and Greg once a month hosting our policy corner on Instagram Live. So this is an opportunity to ask your questions. This is an opportunity to hear directly from our policy expert here at Initiate Justice. And so wanting you all to stay connected to our Instagram for that purpose, and keep an eye out for the notification for our next policy corner or Instagram Live with Greg and Michelle. Other ways that you can support right now look like our committee meetings. Adriana talked about them earlier, so I won't spend too much time here, but our volunteer committee meets Wednesday, March 8th at 5:30 p.m. This is an opportunity to learn how you can help continue to engage and empower our loved ones, our community members inside, particularly our inside organizers, in these efforts. Also, our Community Action Committee, which meets Wednesday, March 22nd. This committee will be led by our policy team. Also, spread the word. We will be sure to share out all of this lovely information in a recap email to everyone here, along with the rest of our community who was not able to be here. And we also do post our recordings of our member meetings on our YouTube. And as I shared earlier, we also have other great links to some resources for you to share and spread the information with others in your community. So we really want to encourage you to spread accurate information about both Initiate Justice co-sponsored bills and all of the other legislation that you may be working on with other organizations, or that you may be supporting, or that you may see as you continue to advocate for change here in the state of California. Also, we dropped the link in the chat earlier to a form, and I'm going to drop it one more time, but let us know what questions you have. That way we can make sure all of you have the most accurate and the most complete information to share and have these conversations within your community. Another way that you can support is by building relationships with your legislators. So we also have, I shared a couple of videos earlier, but we also have another set of videos on our YouTube that I would actually encourage everyone here, even if you've done it before, if you've searched for your representative before. With redistricting, there have been tons of changes, so your representative might be different now. So I would encourage every person here to do this, but we have a video detailing how to find your representatives on our YouTube. Another huge shout out to Michelle for these amazing resources. This video is both in English and in Spanish. to share widely with your community, even if you want to share it on your Instagram story, on your page, on Twitter, on Facebook, in a mass text message to your family members. Like, share it widely, all of these resources. Share often, share widely, and learn who your representatives are. Another key way to support is by building your own relationships with your reps. I mean, you can do this. One way that you can do this, is by signing up for their email newsletter. Most, if not all, representatives on their website have an opportunity for you to sign up for like updates, whether it's events that they're doing in your district or things that they're working on. But you'll want to know like what your legislators or your representative's office, what they're working on, what they're doing, how you can stay connected, how you can show up to community events or town halls that they're doing. I would encourage everyone to sign up for your representative's newsletter on their site. Also, set up meet and greets with your representatives, or consider supporting lobby visits when you're called to action. So what you'll find is that sometimes during spring recess or during summer recess, Initiate Justice or other organizations and coalitions and efforts will have lobby visits, either lobby days directly at the Capitol, lobby visits virtually, but they'll have the opportunity to meet with representatives on particular bills, why these particular issues matter to us, and making sure that our representatives are hearing directly from us who are most impacted by these policies. So encouraging everyone to look out for those calls to action, and step up when called, show up when called, be present when called to action. But also you can set up meet and greets with your representatives on your own, just to say, hey, I'm in your district and I want to know what your office does. I want to know how your office can be a resource. I want to let you know what things matter to me. You can bring your family members, your friends. You can make it a family affair, or something, again, that you do with your friends and other neighbors in your community, and just meet with your representatives, because everyone is entitled to that. So, and those are happening virtually and in person. So those are some ways that you can start to support now, but certainly staying connected to Initiate Justice and all of the other amazing and brilliant organizations that are in our coalition, some named, some that were not named. There's far too many to name at any one given time, but staying connected to organizations that are advocating for policy change, and looking out for calls to action, for toolkits, for fact sheets, and ways to continue to share and uplift. We know we will be sharing some very soon for you all. We know we had a call to action just last month to show up with us at the state capitol. So super grateful for those who did show up, and we hope to have more calls to action similar to that, or others coming for you all very soon. Pausing real quick, just to see if there are, well, first to amplify in the chat, Adriana just dropped that it's the last call to enter the raffle. So if you're not in the chat, hop in the chat. This is the last call to enter the raffle. So make sure that you complete that form real quick. It's super quick. I think it's just like your name. So go ahead and fill that out. This is the end of this presentation. Adriana, you can stop screen share on this part here. Uh-oh. Was it already closed? Let's see. Oh, it's open. Let me drop it one more time for you. Yeah, it worked for me as well. So let me see. Maybe it's the period at the end of the sentence. Let's see. Try it now. Maybe that works. So again, one last call to enter the raffle here at the end. But I do want to pause real quick and see if anyone doesn't have the opportunity to fill out that form and wants to like come off mute, or drop in the chat any questions that you want us to get you an answer to, talk through with you, connect you with our policy team to learn a little bit more about on any of these particular efforts. I know that was a lot of information. I just shared tons of information, and we're probably still all processing, which is okay.
Is there any bill like that stood out, even if you don't have questions at this point, but is there any bill in particular that stood out to you as like, ooh, that sounds like something I would be interested in knowing more about? I know we've had a lot of interest just since we've done the press conference around ACA 4 and things like that. So really just encourage folks as well to just also share their thoughts about what resonated with them tonight as far as our bill package goes. And Anthony, I see your hand raised, so go ahead.
Thanks. These aren't about the bills that we're sponsoring this year, but I'm wondering what happened to AB 2632, the Nelson Mandela Solitary Confinement Act. Is it going to be reintroduced? Is IJ having anything to do with it? And the other second question is, I guess it was on February 15th, I think it was Assemblywoman, I think her name was Lori Wilson, introduced ACA 8 to abolish the involuntary servitude exception to Article 1, Section 6 of the California Constitution. Do we have a position on that? So 2 questions.
Yeah, so the California Mandela Act on solitary confinement did not pass last year, or
it passed, but
it passed, but the
vetoed.
governor, yeah, I was like, let me not, it passed. We got it through the legislature, but the governor vetoed it. So there actually is a group of organizations working to revisit that again this year. I believe that's with Senator Glazer. So I believe it's SB, let me double check, 733. So if you, oh, let me, sorry, double check. There's another one. Oh, Holden also reintroduced. Okay, so it looks like there's 2 efforts being introduced because there's SB 733, but then there's also this one with Holden. So there are organizations that are revisiting that this year. And so the other one is AB 280. Thank you for dropping that one into the chat. And so definitely following both of those efforts, you can pull them up on Ledge Info as well to continue to support that effort. Initiate Justice, we do absolutely still support. We'll be sending letters of support, things of that nature to make sure that these bills are also progressing. But it's not one of the bills that we're currently co-sponsoring again this year.
Okay. And what about ACA 8?
So ACA 8, that one we're also not co-sponsoring. What was your particular question on that one?
Oh, well, I wanted to know if we weren't, why not, whether or not we were, and if not, why not? Because it's the bill to amend Article 1, Section 6 to end the exception to slavery for involuntary servitude as punishment for crime.
Yeah, so that one is also a constitutional amendment to end involuntary servitude, pulling that out of our Constitution completely. So for those who might be new here currently, our California Constitution, yes, we were probably led to believe, educated through school systems and others to believe that, slavery was completely abolished. but our Constitution does have that slavery is, or involuntary servitude is abolished, except for the punishment of a crime, which means involuntary servitude is allowed, or slavery is allowed for our loved ones who are incarcerated. So ACA 8 is a constitutional amendment to pull that and remove that exception from our state constitution. It's not an effort that's just happening here in California. There are other states who succeeded last year in doing this, and who are attempting to do this year again. So we are hoping that that effort does pass, that effort does win. That is not one that Initiate Justice is co-sponsoring in particular. So a little bit of background about Initiate Justice. So Initiate Justice is a policy team of 2 people. So we're a very small organization. We have a very small policy team. So we don't have the capacity to support all of these amazing efforts that are happening. But we know that many of these efforts are being led by powerhouse organizations, advocates, and leaders in this work. And we also want to honor that leadership. And so we don't participate in, or are not on every coalition, are not leading every effort, but we absolutely do support in different ways. Sometimes authors or coalitions will ask us to support with expert testimony in committee, or connecting them with organizers, members. Sometimes we'll be asked to support with things like social media advocacy efforts, or supporting with things just like simple acts of mobilizing people, or submitting organizational letters of support. So in many of these bills, you will see, if you ever review the bill analysis, Initiate Justice is more often than not, or most 99% of the time, if it does align with our abolitionist lens for policy change, we will be an organization that supports, but we will not always be able to lead or co-sponsor particular pieces of legislation. So no like particular reason, but just wanting to give like a general reason why, like out of the hundreds of criminal justice reform bills that are going through the legislature at any one time, Initiate Justice will co-sponsor a small handful of efforts.
I saw somebody else have their hand. There she is. Jen, go ahead with your question.
So I'm a bit confused because ACA 4, when you're speaking about it, you mentioned involuntary servitude, which to me is like when our loved one is in there doing wages for like a few pennies, and then if they don't work, then it's considered not rehabilitating or going with the program. So it looks bad on their parole board, right? So that's what we want. I mean, that's what I thought of involuntary servitude, where we're trying to remove that, because it's kind of like working for free, and that's kind of like slavery. But earlier when we were talking about ACA on the agenda, it seemed like that was freeing the vote for people who's in prison in the feds and in the states, and 2 states has already passed it. Now we're trying to be the 3rd, right?
Yeah, so there's 2 different, so just kind of like explaining the bill. So ACA 4, so they have the same preface, which is ACA, meaning they're an assembly constitutional amendment. So the one regarding voting rights is ACA 4. The one removing the exception for involuntary servitude is ACA 8. So they're both constitutional amendments, because our Constitution not only explicitly prohibits people who are currently in our state prisons, state and federal prisons, from voting, but it also currently permits involuntary servitude as punishment of a crime. So there are 2 pieces of our Constitution that need amending, and so they're 2 different efforts. But you are absolutely correct about the intentions of both, or the intentions of each. I see Miss Khadijah. I'll take that last question. And I don't know, Adriana, if I've taken up too much time now, so you can let me know, but I'll go ahead and take Miss Khadijah's question and see if either I can answer it, or we'll need to connect you with our policy team. Oh, you're yeah, you're muted. Did you still have your question?
No, that it was me. I hit it by mistake. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
good.
no worries. Happy to
I'm
see you.
good.
Happy to hear from you. We absolutely love you and are glad you are in this space with us tonight, Miss Khadijah.
Well, I made Wednesdays a space for IJ. I didn't have the capacity before, so I made the capacity to be here with you guys.
Thank you so much. Absolutely love it. And thank you everyone who's like dropping additional information into the chat, sharing like the language for the different bills, some of the organizations or like coalitions who are working on them, and how folks can get more information. That's absolutely essential. Continue to information share, because again, there are hundreds, well, there's thousands of bills that go through the legislature each year, but there are hundreds that relate or that particularly address the criminal legal system that could be beneficial for our communities, but there are also some that could be absolutely detrimental for our communities. And so there are both good bills and bad bills. So thank you everyone for dropping all of that information in the chat. We will have more opportunities, whether it's through Policy Corner, whether it's through our community action committees, for us to like talk more about and learn more about how we can support the bills that are creating the future that we want to see for our communities, and how we can oppose and stop the bills that are harmful for our communities, our loved ones, and the future that we want to create. Any other questions?
Go ahead, Jen.
I don't have a question. I just can't. I'm just so excited to be helping the inside people folks to, you know, get on the ballot. I mean, to get their ballots and to learn what to vote, you know, because in the past,
Uh-oh, did we lose her? I think she dropped off. Hopefully she'll be able to like join up really quickly before we end.
Yeah, her Wi-Fi is a little unstable. She's been on and off, so she'll be back on in a second.
Okay. Thanks for flagging that for us, Lee. Before we shift, it's 7:44. And so oh, there she is. Let me let her back in. We lost you, Jen.
I know
I
it's my AirPods.
want
It
to
keeps
give you time
happening.
to finish up your thoughts, so feel free.
Yeah. No, it resonates with me because in the past, back then when we could start voting and then people would come in and then they start giving us ballots and then like, hey, you guys can vote. And I'm like, okay, I want to vote too now. But at that time, you don't know who to vote for. So I can't wait for us to make it happen to the point where everyone can vote and then we actually get in there and give them knowledge, educate them on what to vote, you know, because the voices, when it comes together, it's gonna be so great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jen. That's absolutely critical, right? It's not only restoring their access to voting, but it's also that very important information. And so, yeah, thank you for uplifting that.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. So much information that we have covered, from updates, policy, committees. I'm super excited to get started on the policy stuff this year and just go. And I hope y'all are sharing that same energy. And I can't wait to hear and learn more. So just gonna drop some last minute things in the chat. Some upcoming events. So make sure you register for next month's member meeting, April 5th, 6:30, same time, same place. The link to register is in there. And then also don't forget to register for our March committee meetings. I don't know why I didn't do the link, but go to initiatejustice.org/calendar and you'll see all of our events. Thank you, Lee, for making it a link. So go ahead and click on that. And that is our member meeting for the month. But before y'all go and get out of here, we do have one more thing, which is the raffle. Who's gonna get it? So I'm so glad to see so many folks entered to participate in this raffle. We had about 33 people enter their names in for this raffle. So I've already kind of queued it up, but I'm going to share my screen one last time just so everybody can see and know that I ain't on no funny stuff, right? So here is the wheel. All of the names that have been added in as just a simple copy and paste. So all of the names that have added in, I'm gonna click here. How it's gonna work is once we have a winner, then I'm going to reach out via email so that we can connect and I can get your address information if we don't already have it, so that I can send you your gift card. And then if there's any questions or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me real quick. Let me just drop my email into the chat just in case, even though I feel like y'all have this already as many times as I send out emails and things like that. So there's my email. If there's any questions, feel free. But let's go. Here we go, y'all. Who's it gonna be?
I'm so excited.
Oh, Danielle G. I feel like it was right on the line, but Danielle G, you have won our raffle this evening. So you are the winner. You get this lovely, lovely gift card. Everybody can see that. So I'm gonna stop the share just so I can see everybody. But Danielle, are you still in here with us?
I am.
You are. Yeah.
Hey, Miss Khadijah. Love seeing everybody. That's awesome.
Yes. Congratulations, Danielle. So I will be following up with you via email to get your address information to send you this wonderful, wonderful card. I hope you enjoy it. Choose Your Movie, girl, is correct because there are some good ones coming out this year. I know I'm excited to get to the movies. I hope you are too. And you got a little treat from IJ. So happy Women's History Month to you, my dear. And we appreciate you. Thank you so much for everybody that stayed, that joined. We will be doing these raffles throughout the year at member meetings and things like that. So always make sure you join because you never know what we're going to raffle next or when. So thank you so much, everybody. We are ending 10 minutes early this evening, so I'm happy to give folks back 10 minutes of their evening back. If there is nothing else, we will see y'all next month. Thank you so much and talk to y'all soon. Have a good night.